What we are witnessing here is the return of Titans.
How many of these things are there?
17 and counting.
That's messed up.
Madra, Rodan, Ghidorah.
Oh my. They're moving like a pack. They're hunting. They all respond directly to an alpha. We stop this Ghidorah, we stop them all.
Is there another creature that might stand a chance against him?
My God, Zilla.
Our planet will perish, and so will we. Unless we set Godzilla free.
Oh yeah, sure, let's bring him in for a beer. No, this time we join the fight.
Run.
This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it.
Damn right.
All right, welcome everybody to InHouse-Con. Thank you for joining us. You know, I just realized I've seen that trailer a few times for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it just dawned on me that Somewhere Over the Rainbow is the music that they chose for the background, which is fantastic. I can't wait till today's show is over. Well, kind of, but I want to go back and watch the movie. It's fantastic. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. For those of you who have never joined us before, let me explain a little bit about who I am and what we do. I'm Derek Mackey. I'm president of Cool Waters Productions, LLC. We are an appearance management and autograph company based in Hollywood. And our clients are actors and professionals and voiceover artists from film and TV that we take all around the globe to meet fans like you viewers at conventions. Because of COVID-19, there are no conventions that we can go to. So my staff and I decided to create InHouse-Con, which is what you're watching right now, which is a virtual convention, and we can't thank you all enough for joining us. So thank you so much. We have some great InHouse-Cons coming up. So if you love what you see today, we ask you to come back and join us again. Next week, we're going to be hosting our first ever InHouse-Con with only one actor, Hollywood icon, Ernie Hudson. Most of you know him from Ghostbusters, but he's in so many other things. The Crow, Miss Congeniality, Gracie and Frank. He's an amazing, amazing actor. After that, we're going to be doing our 4th Star Wars episode, which will feature some supporting actors from the original trilogy as well as the newer movies. And then on August 8th, we are going to be doing our 2nd Star Trek Discovery event, and we have a surprise guest lined up for that one, aside from the people that are advertised already to be joining us that weekend. I also want to remind everybody that you can purchase month-long passes, which save you just a couple of dollars when you watch us, and you get to see all of our panels and join us live every Saturday. And we are going to be announcing the rest of the August lineup in the next coming weeks. So there you go. I need to do some shout outs before we start as well. I need to thank Talking Bay 94, Beckett Media, at Godzilla Says, and the many Facebook groups that helped publicize today's event. So thank you guys for doing that. And also an extra special shout out. I have a dear friend who lives on the other side of the world. His name is Danny, and his birthday is tomorrow. So Danny, if you're watching, happy birthday from me and everyone here at Cool Waters. We appreciate it. So without further ado, I'm going to get to introducing our guests. But before we do that, I'm actually going to do another screen share for you because you guys just saw our, what do you call it? The trailer for Godzilla, but I want to show you a different look to how these guys performed. And also, you know what I forgot to do? I didn't show our welcome video. So I probably should do that as well because I'm the one that creates them and it takes me a few minutes to do that. So I'm going to bring those both up for everybody to watch. Hang on, please. I just need to find these. Where am I? Here we go. We've got that one ready and that one ready. Okay, so guys, hang with me. I'm going to do a screen share. I'm going to show you both of those, and then we will bring on our guests. Okay, here we go. Okay, you guys have already seen me. Now we're going to do another screen share so you can see some behind the scenes footage of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Hang tight, here we go. All right, so that was a little bit of behind the scenes on Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Not quite the same as what we saw in the trailer, but it's a great way to introduce all of our guests. And my tech guy, Tyler, will bring them in one at a time. I would like everyone to welcome, please, Richard Dorton, Alan Maxon, Jason Lyles, and TJ Storm. Let's bring them all in, guys. As we're waiting for everybody, there we go. Jason, hello. Alan, hello. I'm assuming that's TJ. Hello, sir. And Richard, welcome, guys, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for putting this together. Thanks to everybody to be here. This is awesome.
Lord.
We should have fun today, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to start getting right into questions because that's why people are here. I'm going to remind all of our viewers at home that if you want to ask a question, you need to go to the bottom right of your screen and enter your questions in the Q&A section. Do not enter them in the chat section. the chat section are only for the fans to talk to each other. If you want to ask a question to the panelists, send it to the Q&A room. I will read the question live on air, and then the panelists will answer it live on air for you, okay? So let's start. Guys, I have a few questions lined up already, and they're in no particular order. And the first couple that I'm going to ask are actually for the group of you. And whoever wants to jump on and answer first, you feel free. I would like to know, how much collaboration do you guys get to have with the director when you're bringing a virtual character to life?
A ton. The best part, I guess I'll start. The best part about doing what we do with motion capture is that we are part of the collaborative and creative process, and we were lucky enough that Michael really he had his vision, but he listened to us, and he wanted to make sure that we got a chance to throw our 2 cents in. It is such a collaborative art, motion capture. So we all got to participate and feel a part of creating our characters.
Yeah, the first time I talked to him, he knew exactly what he wanted for the 3 heads. At least I didn't have any discussions with him about Godzilla, but he very much knew I want like the big brother Alpha to be the center head. I want the left head to be a little slower, a little more curious, a little more not as aggressive, and I want the right side to be very aggressive, just back crap crazy. But they're 3 brothers as one. Yeah, I'll keep it PG. Back crap crazy, and he very much had a vision for that, and then he didn't know how we were going to really do it. He said, I don't know if we're going to tie you guys together. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if we're going to put you all in something. I don't know. And then when we got on set, we just figured it out, and he would very much, every single scene we would break down, he'd say, it's A, B, C, D. You guys just play in that and just find how you get from A to B to C to D, and we'll just try different stuff. And always kept it very simple, very clear direction, very concise, and it made it a ton of fun. He's just a big nerd who loves Godzilla. Like we all are.
Yeah.
Go for it, Alvin. Go for it.
Good input.
That sums it up. That's it.
Well, that's it. Okay. Good. So let me bring myself back on live here. Sorry about that. Perfect. Thanks, guys. So here's our next question for you, and I want to know, and we'll just ask it. So obviously, everyone, when they're a striving actor and they're young and they move to Hollywood and they, everyone's like, well, I want to be on the big silver screen, and there is no argument that you guys are on the silver screen, but a lot of times, especially with this motion capture stuff, we don't get to see your faces. So did any of you actually set out to start strictly behind the scenes and in motion capture? And how did the dream maybe, or the path slightly change, that instead of being the leading man, you're being the leading monster? Who wants to go with that one?
My goal was not, I thought I would never work in performance capture, because if you look at least the 2 names that I knew the most were Andy Serkis and Carrie Notary, who are both 5'7" and I'm 6'9". So I just thought, well, that's probably not where I'm going to fit. But I very specifically moved out here to play characters like Ryuk in Death Note, because knowing my height and the makeup artist, I knew that was my way in. And when I learned half the roles never made it to breakdowns, like casting directors never held auditions and agents were never even able to submit clients, actors for those auditions. But half the time, the makeup artists just cast. They're like, but if you're here locally in LA, then we can cast you. Who do you know who's that tall, who's an actor who can fit in that stuff and is willing to wear all that? So it was a plan to come out and play roles like that. And then as I could build a resume, I could maybe branch out and be more of just human. But I actually never thought I would do performance capture, and it's the work I'm kind of most known for, which is interesting. You just never know when you're going to find a fork in the road and you're going to go off a path. I've heard, sometimes the best thing that happens to you is what you never planned, for what you planned to never happen, because maybe something's better there that you didn't know. But it's been a lot of fun to play such awesome characters that are, especially in a 65-plus-year-old franchise like Godzilla. That's ridiculous.
Thank you, Jason. TJ, Allen, Richard?
I started particularly as a dancer. I loved dance, and that was kind of my thing. And then I came to LA. I continued to dance. I danced professionally for a long time. I got into the recording business for a little while, and I didn't like that. And then I got into action movies. I started doing kickboxing movies, and I did a bunch of them. And eventually, I went to acting school. In retrospect, I probably should have done that in reverse, because I did a lot of really bad movies, and they were bad because of me. But I couldn't act, and I didn't know it. I didn't know. I was just like, oh, I'll just act tough and throw my fist around. And eventually went to acting school, and I got the opportunity to work on a new technology at the time. It was called motion capture, and I helped a guy out to figure out his system and to do the logo for his company, and then we started working on some games. And since then, that was 25 years ago, and since then I've been lucky enough to get to do this stuff. Back then it wasn't an option to have a choice to go do performance capture. Performance capture wasn't a thing. But now, and I have a school called the Mind's Eye Tribe, people come to us and they learn how to do performance capture, motion capture, performance, and all the skills that are associated with it. So I've been really, really fortunate and lucky and blessed to get to do not only something that I love, that marries one art with the art of martial arts, movement, dance, all of that stuff together. I get to share a lot of that with the new generations that are coming through, and it's a blast. And on top of that, the icing on the cake is I get to portray a bunch of really amazing characters that I actually grew up on. And I get to create characters that maybe the newer generation gets to grow up on. So to be part of that is absolutely amazing, and I'm really fortunate. And I'm glad that you guys are all here because I think we're all fans of those things that we grow up on, especially Godzilla. So thank you for coming, and thanks for having us.
Thank you, TJ. Alan or Richard?
When I first decided to take acting serious as a profession, I definitely sought out monsters, but it was all practical. So I was seeking out to be in the suits and under the makeup, and I would say maybe 2 or 3 years into it, I saw the trend of motion capture continuing to grow, and so I sought out the school of the mocap vaults, and that's kind of where my motion capture began. And I went there and learned how to do it all, and then Godzilla was actually, I did one small mocap thing first, but Godzilla was like a really lucky, huge, very first motion capture, so I really lucked out with that one. But I definitely didn't have any intentions of starting in mocap, but it's now, since then, I've done a handful of really cool ones, and I think it's just part of, specifically for me at least, since I do a lot of the non-human characters, it's very much like I'm now noticing the auditions and calls and stuff for practical and mocap are kind of the same, and I'm not really seeing a difference in the calls for them. At least like if my agent contacts me or anybody else, it's almost like they've blended into, it's just like, you're a performer that does this type of character, and you know both variations of how to perform through each different suit. So it's kind of, the mocap thing kind of blended in from my desire of the practical and going down that path.
Thank you, Alan. Richard.
Well, that was a great segue, because it's really funny because Alan was my student at the mocap vault. So that's my school of motion capture. But just like everybody else, we're actors. I tell my students to just be an actor. Don't try to be a mocap actor. I mean, we're going to do film, TV, theater. I come from Washington, D.C., where I did a lot of, so I had a theater background, studied at Oxford, Shakespeare trained. And then I got into stunts, and I started doing anything I could locally in Washington, D.C. to just work in the industry. I am in a ton of DC movies that have, DC as a background. I either car coordinated, I was an extra. I just wanted to work. And then so I had been stunt coordinating for America's Most Wanted in DC. And so I decided I needed to come to Hollywood to do stunts. So I moved out here, and I got a stunt agent immediately because I brought an episode of America's Most Wanted with me to shoot out here because it was snowing in DC and we needed clear weather. So I got a stunt agent, and my first audition they sent me on was a motion capture audition for a video game. and that was Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. I played Shaggy and all the villains in that game. And but it was new technology. The only thing I knew about mocap was they had just shot Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic, and they were using stuntmen to do all the stunts falling off the ship, and that was all mocap. So I was going to this famous place where motion capture was. Michael Jackson had just done a music video dancing like a skeleton. So I'm like, I'm going to that place. And I did my first game, and I played 80 villains. So I played 80 different characters, and it just kind of exploded from that. So I was lucky enough to just be there, really started, and to just build a career out of it. I was working more in motion capture than I was on film or TV. So I just followed that path. That's how I got into it.
Thank you, guys. That's fantastic. I love it. I'm intrigued. I'm making notes as you're talking because I have other questions, but I'm going to wait on that because I want to go to some fan questions as well, because this is also for the fans, and then I'll interject my questions with what you just said. So the first question we're going to take today is from @GodzillaSays, and I'm assuming it's for everyone, or if it's not, I'm going to make it for everyone. So to all of our panelists, what was the first Godzilla movie you ever saw?
Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. Hedorah.
Godzilla versus Megalon.
Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. It's the first one I saw as a kid in theaters.
Boo.
What are you booing me as an 8-year-old? But I got taken like,
Boo, your 8-year-oldism.
Boo. Boo. Yes.
How dare I in like 3rd or 4th grade not tell my parents, no, I don't want to go see a Godzilla movie.
I actually loved, you're talking about, sorry, you cut out, you said it was the 98 one?
Yeah, with Matthew Broderick, yeah.
I love that movie. Yeah, it was, you and I were the perfect age when that came out. Like, we loved Jurassic Park already. It's a fun flick.
What did
Ferris Bueller's in it.
What did you guys think of Shin Godzilla?
Love it.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite. It's one of my top 3. I love that.
I think it's beautiful. Beautiful.
I think it was very well done as much more of a throwback to the originals in Japan. And this actually is a good interjection for one of my solo questions for TJ, but any of you are welcome to jump in on it. And so TJ, I want to know, since we're talking about the original Godzilla, since you are specifically the Godzilla monster in these newer films, did you watch any of the older films and try to incorporate what those actors in the suits did to your mocap? And did you work with the directors of the newer films and say, look, in the original actors kind of did this or that, and I'd like to kind of make it. And then what did you do to make it also your own Godzilla? Because obviously you're adding new things to the character.
In both cases, the studio and the directors, mostly for the first one, because the first one set the tone for all of them, we had to find the movement because we didn't know exactly what that was. And a lot of it, especially in performance capture, it is all about the model. The model is made well before we get there. What a model is it's kind of like a digital sculpture, and they are working on a screen and they build the creature, in this case Godzilla or Ghidorah, and they build the skin first, and then they go inside and they do something called rigging, where they attach all the bones to the skin so that it can be manipulated in a particular way. Then once all that's done, then they bring it to us. So we have to find the best way to manipulate that particular model. Not all models work the same. I worked on something called Terra Nova, where the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it didn't use its arms at all. So instead of me trying to stand like this, I had to stand like this because they really wanted me to operate the jaws. And if I did this, then the creature's jaws opened up. And if I did this, creature's jaws shut. The arms were useless. So I'd run around going, roar, roar, and I'd have to run the entire time and slam into Jeeps and eat people. And it's totally different for everything. So when we got to Godzilla, we sat there in the room for a while, and I'm like, all right, so wait, you want this like the original one? And they're like, no, he's got shoulders. Let's use his shoulders. Let's go a little bit forward. And at the same time, Warner Brothers and the studio at the time was watching through the equivalent of a Zoom call, and they're giving us tons of notes, And they're like, heavier, maybe a little lighter, more shoulder, more hands. And we worked out the specifications of Godzilla together, and we finally all settled on something that we liked, and then we brought it to life.
You did an amazing job at it, I will tell you that. So our next question is from Kristen Melendez, and it is directed towards Jason, Richard, and Alan. And the question is, what is your favorite individual Ghidorah incarnation?
I like the blue one from the Mothra trilogy.
I like Kevin.
Kevin?
You cut out. Did you do that on purpose as a joke?
No, I like Kevin.
Okay.
You're so narcissistic.
My favorite is it's the one we played. Like, honestly, like the one we played is just like, nothing's ever gonna touch that for us in our heart. But if I had to choose outside of that, it would be Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster.
All right, our next question is from D-Man 1954. This is a great question. I love it.
D-Man!
Was it harder to film Godzilla or to wait until the movie was out before you could talk about it?
Wait.
Pretty
a year later.
Filming it could have taken a lot longer. Like, filming it was so much fun. We were just like kids on the carpet, like just playing monsters. We'd move all the furniture out of the living room and roar and tackle each other. And then, waiting for over a year. And we had seen the movie too. We saw the movie in February of 2018 at Legendary's offices in a little, Richard and Alan and I did it. We sat as the heads high-fiving each other and like, yeah, and everything. And then we had to wait to talk about what we did for a year. But it's
and
also
Jason and I extra high-fived when the left head died because we were like, thank God we don't have to work with Richard anymore.
Surprise!
About this industry is that for a short period of time you can't talk about it. Then there comes a day when you can talk about it forever.
Yeah. It was crazy when we were sitting there and the left head gets ripped off. We're like, oh crap, what happened? And I'm thinking, okay, that's the end of my scene. And then we saw the regeneration scene, and I'm like, not dead. And I mean, to hold on to that secret for a year was really, really hard. I mean, I just kept saying, oh my God, I've got a great scene in the movie. This is going to be memorable. So it was pretty awesome.
And then it was spoiled by the action figure.
Yes.
Because the head comes off.
Is removable.
And Jason mentioned earlier about us sitting there watching it or having so much fun on set it was cool because we had so much fun on set that I don't know how you three felt, but for me, it didn't really kick in until it was wrapped and I was at home after the last day of shooting and I was sitting on my couch and I was like, I'm in a Godzilla movie. And really, that's when it for me, it sunk in. And I was like, oh, crap. I can't talk about this for like a year. But did you guys feel that? Or did you feel the excitement during? I know, TJ, you were in the first one. So like you kind of already went through that.
Yeah, when an article came out from the Wrap that talked about us being in it, and then Legendary was like, no, you can't say all that. They had to like change stuff and like, no, you can't say, but that kind of put it into reality because it wasn't like we were on a big set. We were in that tiny room in there with 10, 15, 20 people, and nobody knew what we were doing. So it almost seemed like this little like student project we were all doing together. And then articles started coming out about, oh yeah, there's 3 actors that play, and we're like, oh yeah, we're in a Godzilla movie. Oh my gosh, this is really cool. That it didn't click for me until after. Obviously, I knew we were in a Godzilla, but like the weight of it and the reality of it, and then the trailer came out at Comic-Con, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be epic. This is crazy. This is like the coolest trailer I've ever seen. So it was definitely after the fact, yeah.
I remember I texted Alan the day after, and I was like, can't believe it's done. It's over. Like that was so fast, And
I remember that because you were like, Alan, this is a game changer. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm going to do a video now. So my tech guy, Tyler, is going to make some of you disappear. And fans, don't worry. We'll be right back to keep answering your questions. So let's take a look. This was sent to us from TJ, and I'm going to share with you all what he sent us, and then he'll come back and he'll talk about it when we come back. So here we go. And
humans, they are but stubborn and foolish. It takes a journey to hell for them to accept and praise their God. A fact that tickles Irony's judgment. Wait! 4 or 5 moments.
I'm sorry?
4 or 5 moments, that's all it takes.
To
be a hero.
Long live the king.
Jesus. Good thing he's on our side.
Oh, unmute.
I'm sorry, I was getting into it, so I'm gonna just sit.
That was fantastic. So we saw you do a lot of different characters in there, and actually one of them was one of my direct questions to you, and then you can talk about the other stuff that we watched, but I wanted to know if the process for creating Colossus in Deadpool was a little bit different than Godzilla. And in any of these projects, not the video games, obviously, but were you ever on set with the actors, the live actors, or is everything done afterwards and you're watching that video monitor? Just curious of the process.
80% of the time, it is without the actors around. Because the scene has to be shot largely as a plate, usually on location, and then they will bring me in for some special character, Colossus or Vader or whatever it is, that has a very particular look, or they have to do something very particular, or something gigantic like Godzilla, for instance. And so we'll do that separately. But the process is similar in most of the cases, but the process to getting to the character is always a little bit different because every character is different. They have their own history, their own life, their own emotional set, and you have to find a way to build that character and bring it to life and bring it to the specifications of the particular team that you're working with, especially the director and the studio and their vision, because you're just kind of like a set of crayons in their a set of tools, and you have to give them what they need. Since everybody's different, you just find a way to give them their particular combination of needs.
And we saw just a flavor of the career that you've had and the characters that you've played. And this question has been asked so many times to so many actors. And I know it's cliche, but I have to ask it because I have to ask it. Do you have a favorite? I know it's like picking a kid, but do you have a favorite or not really? You just love them all.
Can you imagine? Okay, imagine, it's very much like being a kid. Imagine that you, for today, some Warner Brothers comes and they're like, we want you to be a kid and pretend to be Godzilla today. We just want you to go over there and fight with that monster and rip his jaws open and blow fire down his throat, and we'll pay you for it. Are you cool with that? And you're like, yeah! So it's freaking amazing, and you get to do it every time. And then they come to you like, okay, we're thinking about maybe today you want to do like one of the X-Men. I'm like, which one? And they're like, Colossus. I'm like, yeah! So it's amazing. The opportunity to get to play with these, they're iconic characters. And I grew up reading all of them and playing with all of them and watching all of them. And there's a professional mind that approaches it like, okay, take it seriously and find exactly what they need. And then there's the child mind, and the child mind's like, I'm gonna be and it's the best. It's the best thing ever. And you find the way to move, you find out what it is you have to do, and if you must talk like this, you do. Wait 4 or 5 moments. You do whatever you need to do. You find the character and you have a blast. So is there a favorite? It's whichever one I'm working on at that moment. That said, being the most iconic character, and I believe the first American to ever play a Godzilla, which is a Japanese national treasure. It is one of the most iconic characters in the entire world.
Yes, absolutely. And
it's one of the greatest.
We actually have a question directly in reference to that from a fan, TJ. Let me find it. Because it's exactly what you're talking about. And in 1 second, guys, we're going to bring back our other guests. Where is it? I had it pulled up, and then when I went to show your video, I lost it here. But it's an important question. I'm gonna find it. It's right. Here we go. So this is from D-Man 1954, and he wants to know, what was it like meeting Haru Nakajama's daughter, Sono Nakajama? And I'm sorry, guys, if I butchered the name. But you know who I'm speaking about.
No-san. She is an amazing light. Legendary and Toho brought me to Japan to celebrate Godzilla's 65th birthday, and on the very first day, she was standing there, and they're like, "We would like to introduce you to Sonoe," and I was like, "Oh!" And I was afraid to approach her, and she goes, "Ah!" And she ran over, and I got to hug her. She's amazing. She's an amazing human. She taught me to write Gojira in kanji, in Japanese, and she's very patient. We sat there and I kept murdering the language, and she's like, and she fixed it a little bit, and I can do it now all by myself thanks to her. But it was amazing to meet the daughter of the first Godzilla, and she gave me wonderful words of compliment and said that her dad would approve of my work, and there's nothing better than that. That I grew up on that, so it really hit me, and I'm proud to be part of that legacy and that history.
It's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you, TJ. My tech guy, Tyler, is going to be bringing back people. And while he's bringing everybody back, you know, TJ, I was at a convention once that you weren't at, and there was one of the original Godzilla actors there. And I think I got you an autograph of him, and I mailed it to you. Yes. But what was interesting, when I went over to talk with him and his manager, I was telling them that I repped the new Godzilla guys, and he was listening, and he got so excited about you. And I thought that was intriguing, because usually it's the other way around. You're getting excited about the originals, but to have one of the originals be excited about you, that's why I didn't ask for the autograph for you. He came back over to the table that I was sitting at later with it, and was stuttering in Japanese, half English, Japanese, you know, would I give this to you? And I'm like, by all means. It was amazing.
It is, I think that when you are dealing with Godzilla, you're talking to the 12-year-old inside of you. And we are that 12-year-old when we were watching the Godzilla movies. Because certain people, they can't connect to a giant radioactive lizard walking through the middle of a city. But for a super fan, I don't know how everybody else is here, but when I see it, I'm just like, and I shrink and I grin, and it's the best thing in the world. And I still play Dungeons and Dragons, and I still watch monster movies. I follow Alan Maxon. He is, what's that blade-handed dude, the Blade Master? Is that his name? What's his name?
Oh, from Puppet Master.
Puppet Master. What's his name?
Blade. Alan, right? Blade?
Oh, you guys froze. What'd you say?
What is your blade-handed character in that horror movie, the little puppet?
Blade.
Blade. He's Blade, man! So when you're watching this stuff and you're a fan and you become that 12-year-old and you go to that happy place and you enjoy it. So we're all in the same boat. If you're into that stuff, it's just joy. And that's that same joy.
Appreciate that. So, and you know, speaking of icons, I want to loop Richard in on this part, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, my tech guy Tyler actually went to the Q&A room and posted this question, and he wanted to know, Richard, what was it like portraying Darth Vader? But also, you know, TJ has had that honor as well. And when you're talking about icons, you know, there was back in, I can't remember the date, it was in the 90s. You know, Life or Time magazine, one of them did this poll, the most recognizable faces in the world. And at the time, Princess Diana was #1, and #2 was Darth Vader. And you guys both had the privilege of portraying him. So what's that like? What's it like? You know, that's a whole nother set of fandom as well. Godzilla fans are one set, Star Wars fans are another. So share your Star Wars story.
I was lucky enough. My second game that I worked on was Rogue Squadron, and it's mostly a flying game. But when you get to the top level, you get to be Darth Vader. You get to choose Darth Vader's ship and fight. And so that was the second game I worked on. After Scooby-Doo, since I played 80 villains, the next game that came up was Star Wars Rogue Squadron. And the motion capture company that I was working for, House of Moves, they told their next client, we have a guy who can do anything. So they showed him my Scooby-Doo stuff, and that the director of that game said, oh, if he can play those characters, he can do the Darth Vader walk. So I got that job like just right off the heels of the first game that I did. And so it was like the first time somebody got to motion capture Darth Vader. So you go in going, oh my God, Darth Vader, I get to play Darth Vader, but I also got to play Han, I got to play Luke, but it's an honor. And you're nervous about it because you're judged by the fans all over the world and the gamers. And so, you know, it was a treat. I worked on that game. It immediately had a sequel. So I got to work on Rogue Squadron 3 and play Han Solo and Luke again and Vader. And you know, and then I go another 10 years later, I work on The Force Unleashed 2, where I play the Apprentice and Darth Vader in the final scene of the game. So I got to play the light side and dark side. So it was just sort of like, it was pretty incredible. It's an honor to be able to bring some of these icons to life and to say that you're part of that history. Yeah, we're part of now of Godzilla history, but I'm also part of Star Wars history. And as a fan, you're you know, just like TJ said, you can't fathom it. It's like one of the greatest things in your life as a performer to say, I got to do this. I got to work on that. I'm a part of that universe. And I hope that people appreciate it and love what we do, you know.
Thank you, Richard. So we have a question from Kiefer. and he wants to know, and I think this is open to any of our panelists, how long does the mocap work on a movie like Godzilla take?
That movie was
like you to take a
strictly
guess
3
first.
days. Yeah. Oh, spoiled it. Boo.
No, yeah, never mind. You ruined it, Alan. You ruined 3 days, 2.5 days. Half a day was rehearsal. So
Was it?
3 days, yeah. Because the first day was supposed to be all rehearsal, and then the second and third days we're going to be shooting. And then a couple hours into the first day, they're like, "Yeah, I think we're ready to go." Because we don't have to like set up the set. We don't have to set up the lights. We don't have to set up. It's already set up, and we're in this digital play space basically. And
Wait,
it's a matter
when you're on other movies, do they make you set up all the lights and stuff, Jason?
Yeah, make me do that.
You really got to work in your contracts.
We as a production have to set that up. I don't. I just sit there, and amazing people make everything look incredible. But there's none of that in performance capture. There's a guy with a camera sometimes not. But it's very much, we did that scene. You guys ready in a couple minutes to do the next scene? Let's go. And so it's just like scene after scene after scene all day. So it was very fast. It went like that, very fast.
I always want to let anyone jump in if they want to, but I'll move on to the next question. This one is from Paul. I'm not going to pronounce the last name. It's from Paul. There has been talk of moving film production overseas since America hasn't controlled the virus. Do you see motion capture moving overseas because of this? He wants to know anyone's input on this, guys.
There's already talk about it. We are in negotiations to be doing a lot of jumping around in the next couple of months between several countries because they're prepared to continue working. We are shooting here for performance capture at least. And I've been really fortunate to get to continue doing that, but it is definitely slower. And we can't do multiple person scenes because we can't be near each other, not easily. And even when you are, they walk in, they take your temperature, there's tests before you even get there. We're wearing masks until the last moment we have to take the mask off and we have the camera on our face with the dots on our face, all that stuff. It's a lot. They have, in other countries, have controlled the pandemic a little bit better. And they're a little bit further ahead of where we are right now. So they're ready to go into full production and they're taking advantage of the ability. First off, the rates are very, very low for flying people around. So that is a serious option now. The hotels are very, very inexpensive because nobody's in them. So they're taking advantage of that and they're starting to fly us around quite a bit to work on projects that are overseas, especially in Europe and Japan. Even Taiwan has talk of doing it. So fingers crossed that we catch up, that the pandemic gets over with quickly. I hope you guys are all staying safe, by the way. It's unfortunate that I can't get to see you all here in the room with us like we normally like to do, but at least we get to do this and we have the technology to do this and it still connects us. So I'm happy that we have this opportunity to do it like this.
I also want to say that a lot of the European productions, they were doing stuff. They were taking our contracts because it was cheaper to shoot there in the first place. I mean, I worked on Jack the Giant Killer and did 3 months of testing here. Then they moved the whole production to England. So we're finding, I mean, that's just, it was the nature of the business because it was cheaper to shoot it over there. Now they have this reason as well to add on top of the cheaper rates. So that's happening, you know, constantly. And now also with the technology of the mocap suits, the inertial suits, they're sending suits out to actors to try to shoot in home. But the hard part about that is actors shouldn't have to be technicians as well. But it's part of, you know, making the adjustment to COVID. It's really, really crazy. I mean, there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot more shooting overseas first until we can get this thing under control.
I also think they're going to do a lot of not bringing people from the US. I was actually cast in a video game thing, or it was a VR, augmented reality something in Canada. And it was for motion capture. But then when they found out that I was in the US, they replied and said, "Oh, we're not bringing anybody from the US here, sorry." And it's done.
Are you guys Are you guys, as for the motion capture part of what you do, are you protected by SAG or a different union?
Somebody else take this question.
Maybe you
It
don't want to
is
answer it.
to some extent. It is to some extent a battle for the Wild West. Up until 2 years ago, it was the complete Wild West because the union wasn't really too much into it. And now we've fought to get a handhold. But not all the production companies are on board, because to have that agreement, not only does Screen Actors Guild, SAG, have it's just, by the way, SAG is the Actors Guild. It is the guild that all of us actors belong to, and all the performers and all the stunt people belong to, the professional ones that you usually watch on television and film. They want to have SAG contracts because SAG contracts mean that we get health, we get benefits, we get pension, and we're protected under the guild. And in some cases, you get residuals and stuff like that, which is really, really good. On the other hand, the production side, that's more cost for them in the long run, and it's a lot of hassle. It is not easy to deal with the extra hurdles that come along with contracts and the extra payments and paying your health and all that stuff. So it's more beneficial for the production side on a flat field to not have to go through SAG. And that's what they did for the first 15, 20 years. But now they are starting to come to the table because they're starting to realize that the best performers are Screen Actors Guild performers. And they are reliable. They get it done in the first couple of takes. You don't have to explain the process to them. And they've done it a lot. Everybody here is a professional, and everybody here is a Screen Actors Guild member. So we've all had the training, the experience, all of that together. So with that said, it's slowly, one step at a time, moving towards better performers from the Screen Actors Guild and better contracts for us as performers. Because in the end, we should be compensated for the years of work that we've put into it to get to the point that we can walk on stage, perform the character that you need the first time, and make it as good as possible immediately. So yeah, that's where we're at.
You know what bothers me as well, and only because I've made films and I've done acting myself as well, and I get the studio system because I have to deal with them. What they don't understand is that some of these actors like you guys, you become the embodiment of the characters, and this is what the fans like. Fans like being able to have an actor to associate to a character that they're watching because it gives them someone to cheer for at the end. And so it's horrible when a studio, wants to say, oh, come see this amazing movie starring A-list actor, and then the co-star with this A-list actor is this character we've created. And they all want it to be about the digital form that you're seeing on the screen. But you know what? Without you guys and other actors that are helping to bring that to life, that character wouldn't exist. And personally, for me as a fan, if all they had was a computer-generated thing that no one put any efforts in behind, to me, it wouldn't even be realistic. You have to have a voiceover artist or actor do a voice because that embodiments the character, all the movement, everything that the character does, all of that becomes that character. It's not just let's throw it up on screen. And I think it's a shame that the studios have forgotten that. Back in the day, think about like when Star Wars was made or Jaws was made, or go even further back, the classic Universal monsters. Can you imagine Frankenstein or Dracula just being a CGI character? It would be a joke. So I'm all for you guys, let me tell you that. And I will guarantee you our viewers are as well. So bravo to you guys. It's 1 o'clock, and I want to let all of our viewers know, please stay with us. We always advertise that our events are about an hour, hour and a half long. We're going to keep going, but I do know that Mr. Storm informed me earlier that he had another engagement that he needed to get to and that he had to be off by 1. So, but the other guys are sticking with us. So TJ, I'm going to let you say your goodbyes to the viewers, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
You guys, thank you so much for making time for us, for going through the effort to come in here to Cool Water Productions and hanging out with us. I cannot wait to see you all again, like D-Man and those guys that I've met in the past. and to meet all the new people that I haven't got a chance to meet. I know you guys are from Arizona, South Carolina. I see you guys are from everywhere. I can't wait to meet you guys. I am looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again from the other side of the silver screen as well, because there's more fun stuff coming. But in the meantime, please remain safe. Please get healthy and stay healthy. And thank you for making time for us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your support. And thank you for being part of what makes Godzilla Godzilla. It's all of us together. Without that community, it's not the same. So thank you.
All right, take care, DJ. We'll see you later.
Bye, you guys.
So now it's just going to be me and King Ghidorah, which is fine. I'm happy with that. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have my tech guy throw up a poll. And for viewers who have never watched our show before, we just do these for fun, and none of us can see what the answers are. And polls are also for our panelists. So when you see a poll, I'm going to read the question out loud. We want everyone to participate. It's just for fun. Which of these Godzilla creatures is your favorite? Godzilla, Orga, Monster X, Destroya, or King Ghidorah? So everyone choose your answer. Again, we don't know what it is, and we'll look at the answers in a second. I want to move on to a question for Alan. And Alan, when I was doing research to get, I mean, obviously I know you guys personally because I'm your rep anyway, but I always go back and research a little bit more for InHouse-Con because my thing is I don't want it to always just be about one thing. I want the fans to see, you know, all of my clients' careers outside of one or two characters that they've done. So Alan, what I was really surprised at when looking again at your IMDb page is, I mean, you work so much behind the camera and in front of the camera, but I thought it was quite interesting how many horror films you have coming up or have been in. And what I want to know is, are you trying to be the next Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, or Doug Jones?
I don't know if I've actually been asked this question a lot. I don't know if I'm trying to really be anybody. That's my cat. But I just love playing monsters. They're just so much more fun than human characters. And so it's the roles that I go after. And because of that, other filmmakers and makeup artists also know that I enjoy going through the pain and torture of being under the prosthetics. So they come to me as well. So the credits tend to build. And you said that I have so many of them. It's also because a lot of things, they're like 1 day, 2 day shoots. You know, if the movie's 3 months long, I work for 1 week. So my credits build up quicker because they're such shorter shoots.
All right, and I think I thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I think this is the perfect time to do an in-house exclusive while I have Alan talking about this. So I'm gonna ask Tyler to make our other two guests disappear, but stick with me and Alan. Alan,
bye, guys.
We're gonna do, oh wait, where's my, here it is. I keep forgetting to, with the screen share thing. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Here we go, I'm working on it. So we're gonna go to an exclusive here. Alan has sent us some stuff to share. So let me bring those up. So Alan, as you see these come up, let's just talk about it, okay?
Great. This is fun.
All right, can you see that there?
Yes.
All right, what are we looking at?
This is the InHouse-Con exclusive.
No, wait. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I want you to look at. I want, where
is this
am
an eye exam?
Here we go. There you go, you see it now?
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is what, it was funny because earlier my thing froze, and when I came back, all I heard was you guys saying, right, Alan, right? But this is what you were talking about, was in the most recent Puppet Master movie, which I believe it's Puppet Master 12, maybe 13, I'd have to double check. But this is called Blade the Iron Cross, and it's the first standalone movie where he's the main focus of the puppets rather than all, I think there's like eight different puppets usually. And there's, on set, they use a real puppet, but then there's scenes where my character's jumping or stabbing or slashing, doing more stunt type work. They actually put me in a suit like you see here on a green screen, and I do all my my movement and stunt work there, and they shrink me down and put me in the film for the shots that can't be done with a physical puppet. And there's what it looks like when they shrink it down. And I'm not sure if anyone here is a Puppet Master fan, but that's one of my favorite franchises that I watched as a kid. And so the moment that I was able to say that I could be Blade, I was pumped. And it's great because if you look here, part of the deal I made with the effects artist was I get to keep the mask when I'm done filming. So there it is on display up there.
And are they, so they're combining, are they still using a puppet though? Like, are they still doing, the stop motion stuff as well?
No stop motion, because if anyone knows this franchise, each movie has gotten progressively a lower budget. And since we're on film like 12 or 13 now, the budget's really low. So stop motion costs a lot of money because it takes a lot of time and multiple people involved. So what they did, instead of, in the originals, it would be puppet intercut with stop motion for those heavy stunt scenes, whereas now it's puppet intercut with me in a suit. And when we were on set, I actually worked hand in hand with Tom Devlin, who created and puppeteers the puppet, and I assisted him and watched him the entire filming so that when I got in the suit, I could match his performance with the puppet exactly with my performance with the full-body suit. And that way, when they intercut it together, hopefully you can't tell the difference.
That's fantastic. I love it. Very awesome. All right, let's do something else. Let's look at something else that Alan has sent us. I'm going to play a trailer here. And Alan, when it's done, you can tell us a little bit more about it. Whoops,
Right.
I got to make sure that my stuff is on. Yes, it is. Okay, here we go.
What is that?
It's a robot.
Welcome to Patina Robotics.
Hi, Pat.
Patina is an extremely advanced AI assistance machine.
Good to meet you, Pat. I'm John. This is my girlfriend, Alexa.
I live to serve. How may I serve you?
He will do anything you ask.
He's creepy. Look, he's just staring at me.
Till the day
Stop asking you to serve me. That's freaky.
you
God, John, I am not playing with him, okay? I'm terrified.
die.
How may I serve you?
Wow. Okay, so as we see there, it's an Alan Maxon film. So Alan, please share with the viewers some information about it.
So first off, that was fun to watch. I haven't watched that in a long time. But earlier you had said that I work also behind the scenes or behind the camera as well. And so I do a lot of work as a post-production editor, and also most recently I've gotten into writing and directing my own films. And that's one of them. That is a short film. It's only 10 minutes long. And if you guys are interested, you could watch it for free on Amazon Prime. And what I did was I wrote a film that during a time I was watching a lot of Tales from the Dark Side. And if you guys know what that is, it's kind of like Twilight Zone or Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt type thing. It's always a twist ending, somehow has a moral story. And as you can tell with this one, it's about a robot in a home, which is kind of a classic story of, human beware of technology. It's a story we've heard for many decades from many different storytellers, but this version is more updated currently to symbolize a little bit of how we all have an Alexa in our homes, and it's always listening, and depending on how or what you say, it may take it particular ways that you don't intend. So it's a warning, cautionary tale with a fun, lighthearted ending, and I made this film as a showcase of what I can do with a small budget, because I'm attempting to make my next film, which is a feature length. And so I wanted this as a concept to say, here's what I can do for this amount. Now I need this amount to make it a full length movie. And that's what that film is.
All right, thank you. And we've got one more thing that say again where people can watch it for free, really quick.
Oh, on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, okay. And we've got one more thing to show everybody that Alan brought us. So let's take a look at that. Here we go. And here we go.
No loitering.
Sorry, I just came from a movie premiere.
And what were you watching?
I was watching the new Star Wars movie.
Never heard of it. Move on.
So Alan, what were we just watching there?
That was actually a clip from the red carpet of The Rise of Skywalker, and which you were at as well, Derek.
I was, and I was so disappointed that I didn't do that experience, especially when you told me that you were part of it. But anyway, go ahead, tell everybody what it is.
So what it is when all the guests and cast and crew of the film are walking the red carpet, which if you guys have watched it, I believe they live streamed the whole red carpet event. When they get to the end of the red carpet, they're at this big screen, and it's a digital screen, and the digital doors open up, and the Sith jet troopers fly in, and we interact with you. And I'm wearing a headset so I can hear and talk, and I have a big monitor in front of me so that I can see them. And basically I banter and give a hard time and poke fun at the guest or celebrity or whoever's there before they go in to see the movie. And that was what we did. And it was at a studio called Riot, and it had myself, Hunter Smith, Verona Blue, and TK Gregoria, and all of us are actually, ironically, also from the mocap vaults, which is where Richard's school is. And so it was great. It was like this super fun thing of being able to be part of the Star Wars universe. And I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and so this was very exciting for me. And it was interesting because we had to go through a huge round of rules, do's and don'ts. It's very, Star Wars has a lot of particular things that you can't say or can't do. Like if someone has a cell phone, cell phones don't exist in the world of Star Wars. So if I have to comment on it, instead I'll say, is that data pad authorized for this location? Rather than, you can't have cell phones in here, sir. So you really have to alter how you think. And it was all improv because it's live while you're talking to people. So you have to be fast on your feet. And one of the things that I brought to the table that the other actors also took from me that I brought was, I am like a Star Wars encyclopedia. So I know all of those small details, and I know all the species names and planets. And so it was a blast being able to spit all that stuff out, and they felt immersed. Anyone who came and talked to us felt like they were really entering the Star Destroyer, or whatever the First Order ones call it now. See, evidently I don't know that one.
You don't know it all. Well, that's really cool. Thank you, Alan, for sharing all of that. I'm going to ask Tyler, my tech guy, to bring our other guests back. And while we're doing that, Tyler, why don't you show us the results to that first poll that we did? And we'll see what everybody is. So Godzilla would be the winner, with King Ghidorah coming up in second place. No offense to
Boo.
So, Richard, everybody keeps talking about your school, and it's actually on my list of questions to ask you. So can you just tell our viewers a little bit more about your school?
Yeah, it's called the Mocap Vaults. I had been doing motion capture now. I celebrated my 20th year this year. And I basically, I felt it was time for me to give back, to basically share with actors my process and everything that I had to go through, because I was, at the forefront of it, and we had to learn on our feet. And so I decided it was time for me to teach the next generation of students and actors, and to open the doors, because it's motion capture and performance capture is a really hard business to get in. And my school was created to help, bring in fresh new talent, and to also help, the industry grow. I felt it was my time to do that. So that's why the school was created. I have partners in London where the school was created with John Dower and Oliver Hollis, who are my partners. And they basically came to the States, saw nobody was doing motion capture. They did something called the MoCap Summit, where they took 12 actors, put them in suits, and helped them pretty much create their reel over a weekend. So the summit is our ultimate goal when you take our classes, because we're curriculum based. I have an intro class, I have Heroes and Monsters 1, Heroes and Monsters 2, cinematics class, gun class. It was just a way to spread the wealth and the knowledge, you know. And plus, like I said, I've been in it for 20 years. I beat my body up so bad playing all these characters, doing all these stunts, and I felt like, you know, it's time to beat up the 20-year-olds now. So and it's basically my passion now is teaching. And it also, as a natural progression, I am now directing video games and consulting and stunt coordinating. And I still perform. Godzilla was, like, it was a dream role to play the left-headed Ghidorah. And I won't turn a role down, but it's also nice to share and to direct too.
Well, this is a perfect segue, Richard, to have us go into some of the things that you sent us to share with our viewers. So I'm actually going to do that now. Let me do a screen share here, and we'll watch one of the first things you sent. Here we go. What are we looking at here, Richard?
This is the character Dima from a brand new game that's in beta that's getting ready to come out called Rogue Company. And so this is just showing part of the mocap process. He's an eccentric character, and so I'm juggling grenades and throwing them out. Rogue Company will be coming out soon this year, but the best part about working this character and playing this character is I am also directing some of the movement and creating the emotes for the other characters inside the game. So I got on it as a performer. Now I'm on it as a movement director and helping create, movement. And I've cast, I think, at least 8 of my students have been added to this game.
Wow, that is really cool. What are the grenades that you're actually playing with there in the shot? They're not grenades, obviously. What are they?
Actually, 2 of them are they're toy. They're supposed to be like toy grenades for like a video. It's like a laser tag. So I had 2 of them, and the third thing is a water bottle, I believe, taped up. Lucky for me, I know how to juggle, and I actually I taught myself how to juggle because I worked on the game Bayonetta, and I play this demon bartender in one scene. And when I was in Japan shooting it, they came to me and they said, "Do you know how to juggle like Tom Cruise in Cocktail?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, they want me to do flipping the bottles and stuff like that." And I actually went back to my hotel and I said, "Give me one night." I went back to my hotel and I juggled water bottles and tossed them behind my back and did all that kind of stuff. So I kind of taught myself how to juggle, and I just kind of keep it up to practice. And so when it came time to create the emote for Dima, I'm like, "Can I juggle my grenades and then throw them?" And they were like, "That's awesome." So that's how that came about.
Love it. All right, let's look at what else you sent us here. I'm gonna play this video next.
Wake up, American. You guys ready? It's time to get paid. Don't worry. Dima was born ready.
Follow my lead. Almost at the drop zone. Get your heads in the game. Let's put on a show. Keep up, Dallas! I'm down! Sniper!
Pinging that sniper for you.
I'm taking the flank!
Today is not your day, huh? Rain pain, rain money! You suck. You make this too easy.
Enemies have this place.
There you go. All right, so just give us a little brief on that.
Well, that is Rogue Company. That's the game that's in beta right now. That it will be released soon to the public to play. And that's the game I'm working on. So I helped create a lot of that, the movement for mocap, all the in-game moves, and then a lot of the emotes and character things that, what's really great is like if you kill somebody and you want to do a victory dance, we helped create a lot. We created, I think, well over 100 victory dances that you can do, so it's an ongoing game. So it'll keep going.
Well,
the movement. So I'll be working on the game for a long time.
Congratulations, that's great. And I'm sure our fans out there that are video game fanatics will be lining up to get that. Do you have to buy video games anymore, or can you just download them, I think, right? So
well, yes, and both, but this particular is an online game, but you'll end up buying the emotes, you'll end up buying the weapons, and that's how they make their money. It's like this. I think Rogue Company is like the adult version of Fortnite.
Got it. Okay. Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask my tech guy, Tyler, to bring back our other guests. And what do I want to do? What do I want to do next? Let's take some more fan questions, shall we? All right.
Yes.
We have a question here from the Wizard. And this is for Richard, Jason, and Alan. Was there a point when you know what? I'm going to hide my video so I can put on my glasses. Sorry, guys. Was there a point when you were tied together during the mocap filming when you really did feel like you were sharing the same body? And if so, what was that experience like?
Yes. It
felt clumsy.
Yeah.
Very clumsy.
Yeah. We had to figure it out. We were kind of tripping over each other. But by the third day, I felt like we were very much in sync. My arms were tied to in the motion capture the wings, so I had my arms up, and then Richard and Alan each had a hand on my back, so that we were all tied together, so I could move and we could move together. And it was interesting when we would get like really angry and aggressive. You could feel that in my and me just tensing my whole body, and then Alan and Richard, I could feel them the way they'd push in on my back with their hand, and so we very much fed off this energy together. There's an exercise that I forget what technique it comes from. It's called viewpoints. And it's kind of where you're kind of dancing and moving together. And at a certain point, you forget no one's leading or following the other. You're really tied in together. And it was definitely like that. And it was really cool. It was so easy to work with them. Like we very quickly became three brothers who pick on each other and support each other, but totally poke each other. And, but yeah, it definitely, it was a lot of fun. It wasn't difficult. I feel like, especially with the amount of work and background that both of them have, that Alan and Richard have, it was very easy for me to come in and just kind of get in between them and just kind of and let them take their experience. And it made it super easy for me just to have them totally be the wings of this plane, keeping it together.
All right, our next question is from Danny, and it's directed towards Jason. You also played Rodan in Godzilla. How was he different from playing King Ghidorah?
Yeah, totally different. Yeah, he's totally different. I mean, it's just like how is, Darth Vader different than Luke or anybody else. I see him as a totally different character. And so Ghidorah, I very much saw as, I don't think he's the bad guy. The villain never thinks he's the bad guy. He thinks he's the hero, and that the other people, it's all about perspective, where the story's coming from and the perspective you're seeing it from. And so I think Ghidorah was asleep for like however long and then got woken up and shot at. So those people deserve to die. It's like, leave me alone. And then Godzilla shows up and fights. And so always looking at who's the character. And Rodan was just on the spot. Like I didn't do any research to prepare. It was on the spot on the third day, because that final shot when TJ was with Godzilla, there are monsters coming up, and he's he's looking from one to the next as they're all bowing to him. And so Mike Doherty was like, "Who wants to be who?" And I was like, "I'm Rodan. I want to be Rodan." They're like, "Okay, just go stand over there. Alan, stand over there. Richard." And we just, so that he had someone to look at. And so I just tried to do, we looked up and we saw a CGI version. And we're like, okay, so he's got his wings down and he roars at him and then kind of gives a bow. Okay. And I just did that. And then Mike was like, "Hey, do you want to do some scenes later today as Rodan?" And I was like, "Yes." Oh my gosh. And so it just kind of happened, and I stumbled through that with no practice, no rehearsal. It was just kind of like, let's mess up and see what works, and which is really what most acting is. And then you see the one take that worked edited together in the film, and you're like, "Wow, that was perfect." So you didn't see the other 10 takes. But yeah, there were two totally different characters, but a lot of fun. It was awesome to get to play any bit of Rodan.
So that's a good interjection here, or not interjection, a follow-up from another fan, Baron Christopher, and it's for all of you. What was your favorite scene to do in Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Regeneration for me, to grow my head back. That was probably my favorite. And I also, was really funny as I was doing that and growing back. One take, too soon. And I remember Michael going, not yet. Close your eyes. You're not awake yet. You haven't grown yet. You have to, take your time. And that is probably, it's iconic scene. And I got to come back. So it's almost as good as my after credit scene. Haha, Alan.
That was my most memorable scene as well, because what you don't see in the film, because he's like kind of being born again, and when an animal's being born, the mom will kind of like lick and pick at and pull things off and clean that animal. And so that was Mike's suggestion. Why don't you kind of like, kind of clean as he's being born, kind of clean him again, kind of lick some of the goo away. And I didn't actually lick Richard, but I was air licking, like if his head here, I was like, and after, cut, that was too much licking. And I was like, "Hey, you said lick." He's like, "Yeah, it got weird though." So, and I was like, "Okay, then we won't lick." I was just committing. And I was kind of disappointed when that scene came up, that there was no licking.
No licking.
Middle head. I was like, come on.
You ruined his
one
licking dream.
Just one little lick.
I don't know if this was my favorite scene, but I think it was one of the favorite moments with the three of us when we were, I don't remember what happens in the movie, but we were crawling for some reason in the scene, and we're snarling and going nuts while the three of us are crawling at the camera on the ground. And that day, Mike had his dog in the soundstage, and that dog went insane. I remember his assistant was just like holding onto the leash, like holding him back from attacking us. And as actors, that's like the biggest compliment, because that dog really thought we were going to come eat him. So that was, I will never forget that moment, just because it was the emotion was so high that even the dog felt it, and that was cool.
Yeah, because at first the dog came in and was like, hi, who is everybody? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And then, and then we had to be quiet, and then as we started, and taking it on, he starts barking and coming at us, and they had to take him out of the room because he was just like barking and making too much noise.
If they let go of him, he would have attacked for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. All right, we're going to do our last InHouse-Con exclusive, and Jason, it's going to be your turn now, so the other guys are going to disappear for a minute. And so for those of you who have never watched us before, by the way, what is an exclusive? I ask clients when they come onto our program if they can share something that fans have never seen before, and or do a show and tell, because it's maybe things that they can't bring to a convention because it might be a prop or something. So every week on InHouse-Con, we do have some sort of special thing to share with everybody. Jason, right before we get to your show and tell, which is your exclusive because you've got some actual things you want to physically show us in your house, I just want to go over this picture, and whoops, what happened? My screen share went away. There it is, this picture, and it leads into one of my questions. Now, here in Rampage, you play George, and George is an actual creature that we humans here on Earth know it's a gorilla, it's an ape, you know, we get it. But, you know, things like Death Note, Rodan, Ghidorah, they are creatures that have never been seen before. So how do you prepare to do mocap for something like George, where you can watch and mimic a gorilla? And then how do you prepare for someone like King Ghidorah or Rodan?
That is a really great question. Yeah, because he is the only actual real thing I've played, and it's easier because you can pull from something real, but then it's more difficult because I don't want to just pretend or play, because then it's just two-dimensional. But I also, now it's a little more intimidating because people can actually look at videos of gorillas and be like, nope, that doesn't work, that's not good. And then also there are such great performances already out there from Andy Serkis, from Terry Notary, from Toby Kebbell, from Karen Conable, from so many people who have played in Planet of the Apes or King Kong. Very, 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 very convincing gorillas, or apes, and so I didn't want to be the one that they're like, oh, well, he didn't do that very well. He didn't do it as good as the other ones. So for Rampage, they brought let me get this. Okay. They brought on Terry Notary. If you don't know who Terry Notary is, IMDb him. He trained everybody on Avatar. He trained everybody on all the Planet of the Apes films. He's trained Andy Serkis like a dozen different times for a dozen different films. He's worked with James Cameron on Avatar and Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg on Tintin. He's worked. He did the Hobbit trilogy. He trained Josh Brolin as Thanos. At the same time, he was training me as Rampage, as George in Rampage. And so they hired him. And we worked for 3 weeks in the Santa Monica Mountains, and he, from the get-go, he said, I'm not going to teach you to play an ape or anything. I'm going to teach you we are 97% identical to chimps and DNA. We're actually closer to chimps than chimps are to gorillas. And so it's about undoing all the things we've learned about what it means to be a man or an American or Jason or whatever, or an actor, or all these things that we have in our head, and shut that off and let our mind sit in a hammock, as he puts it, and just get to just a blank slate foundation of just taking in the whole room at once, not like showing anything in our face, but just softening the face and softening everything and really tying in with the breath and just getting to a very centered blank slate foundation. Because if we can get that and get out of my head, I'm 97% of the way there. And that's the most difficult part, stopping thinking and just being, just taking in the space. And then getting on these arm extensions, miles and miles and miles in the mountains, discovering muscles I didn't know existed that were sore a couple days later after the first day, and just going through the entire film, all these scenes, and really rehearsing, really finding George, and discovering him through myself. George is just me with different physicality, different, like it's my heart through different physicality, psychology, and vocals, and just finding the voice. What does that sound like? It feels weird at first. Kind of feels like walking like a giraffe, but very much, yeah, it was quite an experience. And finally, the last day of the 3 weeks, I figured it out. It really all clicked together finally on this last thing that we did. Worked with the director, and it was on set every single day with Weta, and just Terry taught me, go on set, get into it for like an hour. When you're on the arm extensions on all fours, and someone's like, "Hey, Jason," and you don't respond, they're very quickly like, "Oh, he's George right now." He said, "Walk on set as George, walk off set as George. Don't take your phone." So it was an incredible experience preparing for him, and it taught me a lot about just myself and really becoming a character, not playing or pretending. And becoming is a lot. It's difficult. You have to do a lot of work, but I'm so glad that they hired Terry to guide me through that. I could talk about Rampage for forever. George is just like, oh my gosh, I love him so much. And then for Ghidorah, I took a lot of the same. I looked at animals that I could. I looked at Komodo dragons. I looked at lizards. I looked at snakes. I looked at what can I look at that at all is a piece of him. Why does he do what he does? Where does he come from? Why is he, he doesn't see himself as the villain. So how does he actually see himself? So getting into the psychology of like, can I look out of my own eyes and feel like this character and see other things and feel like and breathe like this character? And then, because then the rest just kind of comes. If I can actually look out of my own eyes and pretend and really feel like this character, And then I went back to the training ground that we did for Rampage, actually, in the Santa Monica Mountains, and kind of played around with that, and just kind of moved around and saw, what can I do as this character? How does it feel? And yeah, there's no book on like, oh, okay, Sinner, head of a 3-headed dragon. Here, just read this, study this, you're good. So I kind of had to just figure it out as best I could. But I knew I was going to have 2 other partners in that, and all the 3 of us together were going to really bring that to life. And that's something I've learned. You're going to figure it out on the day. Come prepared, but throw it all away and just be ready to just play some stuff and try some. Because once you're in the space, you're like, oh, this is the space. Oh, this is what it's like with our arms around each other. Let's do the best we can.
I love it. Thank you. So, Jason, show us now. You've got some things to show and tell us. It's like we're back in elementary school. So please show our viewers and explain what you're showing, and make sure you center it in your camera,
Yes.
and hold it steady, okay?
There is one thing I forgot, which I might go grab, but I'll show a little bit of something from Death Note, Rampage, and Godzilla. So Death Note, first, he's got all those spikes in his hair, and so I stole one of those. And so these were like sculpted by someone, each little individual spiky hair, and they're quite hard. They're resin. They're very hard. You could hurt somebody. So this is one of Ryuk's hairs. So I stole that. And one of the few bits that didn't get a ton of sweat all over it. And then the last day on set, we were on this pier. It was the final scene with the big Ferris wheel, and it was raining, and which then they had to make it look like all the other scenes were raining. That was such an incredible experience. That saved me from my job waiting tables, and they gifted me one of my favorite things, the clapperboard from Death Note from the film. So, with Adam Wingard on the bottom and this cinematographer, and this was used on set every single day, and they gave it to me, and I was like, I get this? What? Are you serious? Oh my gosh, no way. Like, I was so freaking excited. So I love how this usually is hanging up on my wall in our office / gym. But this is a really, and I mean, you look at there's like chips coming off the wood up there on the top of the clapperboard. So it was used a lot. But this is really cool that I got to have this. This really, that was such an awesome gift. For Rampage, can you give me 20 seconds? I can go grab something.
Please do. We will not mind if you go grab something.
Okay.
So while we're waiting go ahead. While we're waiting for Jason to grab something, why don't we do a poll with our viewers? Tyler, let's throw up a poll. This will give him time. Here we go. Where did you first see a Godzilla movie? In a movie theater or drive-in, VHS or Laserdisc, TV or Blu-ray DVD? I'm going to let everyone know what my answer is, my personal answer. I saw it on TV. That's how I used to catch all of my Abbott and Costello movies, and all of my Godzilla movies were on Saturdays on television. So everybody put in your answer, and as soon as we have that, we will post up the answers. I miss drive-in theaters. We're actually starting to do some drive-in theaters here in California because of COVID. So they're doing pop-up drive-in theaters, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, it looks like Jason is back, so I don't have to ban him. All right, Jason, let us have it.
And I almost forgot to grab the coolest thing. My wife's in the other room, and she was like, "Why wouldn't you grab that?" And she pointed to the wall, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I completely forgot that was even there." But another cool thing from Death Note was this was the script that was in my apartment room in Vancouver whenever I first showed up, and it's got all the different colors as they brought up new revisions and whatnot, and had the entire schedule of exactly what scenes on what days from day one that they knew they were going to shoot. Crew list, which for me was like, wait, what? I have these people's contact. This is the first big movie I was on. I can just like, oh my gosh, I have this producer's cell number and email now. Awesome, forever. And then the script and all the different versions coming through. And this is what I studied while I was watching the anime and studying and pulling as much as I could every single night, and just playing around in my apartment trying to figure out, how do I bring this character to life? But that was all Death Note stuff. Rampage. This is a water bottle that they gave me whenever I first showed up on set. So we did some training in LA and then some training in Atlanta. And it didn't click for me at first how big of a character George was. Because when I first heard about him, I thought I was only going to work for a couple of weeks. And I thought, oh, this is the movie with The Rock. And then I read the script and was like, George is a really, really, really big character, but I always saw it as this is the Rock's movie. And then one time Dwayne talked about, well, the main character, George, and I was like, oh my God, but he's the main character? And then I saw in the words Rampage, I don't know if you can tell, you can see it's George's face with Dwayne as the exclamation mark. And that made me, I remember taking a video of this whenever I was, right before we started filming, and I was like, I'm instantly terrified. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that he was actually that big of a character. Crap. And so I was very, very glad that they prepared me properly. Something else that's cool that I have, so if you see the movie on the airplane, they're shooting assault rifles and handguns at me, and there were hundreds of empty shell casings all over the floor of this C-17 plane. So I picked up a couple. And this is from an assault rifle that was shot directly at my face, which when that happens, you're like, wow, I hope those are blanks. Here we go, action. You know, I guess I won't know if they aren't. And then this is from the handgun that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was shooting at me. And so I brought a couple of these home, and they still smell like bullet, like it's the gunpowder in there or whatever. I don't know guns. Richard knows that. But that was really cool to steal some of that. And then this is, so they took a scan of my face, and then they used that. So this is my face. This is a scan of my face that they used. And what they did was, after scanning my face, they put it on and they cut out the eyes so that they could have this, and they put little dots in all the places that they needed to. I believe it was 63 dots all over my face that will capture all the different movements of the camera on the helmet right there. So they could put the dots here. Then they drilled holes into another copy of this. This is obviously a full copy without the eyes cut out or anything. That way, every single day, to put on the dots for performance capture so they could do it quickly and in the same spot every single day, I would just put this over my face. They had a little hole cut for the mouth, a couple of nose holes, and I would just put this over my face while they just took a pen and just went. All over me. Then I had my dots on for the day. So this was what my wife was like, why wouldn't you show that? I was like, oh my God, I forgot. So yeah, I'm really glad they gave me this. This is a really cool thing from Weta. But that's Rampage stuff, and I have other stuff too. But I figured, if I'm going to show just a few things, and then Godzilla. So Mike sent us all posters from the Comic-Con versions of the posters, and he signed them and put little notes on them. So mine says, "For Jason, all things are possible with Godzilla." And I thought that was he didn't have to do that. He's the only director that sent me a poster. Actually, I went and picked up Rampage from Warner Brothers, from director Brad Payton's office. But for Mike to send that to us was just so awesome. He was so appreciative of our work. And he sent us a custom notebook that is a Monarch notebook. And I thought this was really cool. And it's got a note on the inside. It says, "For Jason, thank you for helping me bring King Ghidorah and Rodan to life. MD, Mike Doherty, top secret, classified." And what do I use it for? Notes for Dungeons and Dragons at Joe Manganiello's house when we're playing all the characters, and so I know all the different characters' healths and stuff because I play a cleric because I'm a nerd. So for him to send that, something I can actually use, that was really cool. But that's some of the memorabilia that I have from the films. The number one thing I wanted to steal is Ryuk's boots because they're Saint Laurent boots. I didn't know what that meant. They're the single most expensive piece of wardrobe in the whole film. They were 4 figures. She wouldn't tell me how much. They were thousands of dollars, and she made them look like they were hundreds of years old. And it's kind of like if you're wearing flip-flops or tennis shoes or hiking boots, you feel different. Wearing these boots make you just feel so like the coolest cowboy in the world. And so I wanted them so badly, but they did not let me keep them. But there are supposed to be sequels, so I'll get to slip into those again.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I think some of our viewers are as well, because there were some questions in the Q&A about is Ryuk coming back. So there, Jason just answered that question. I'm going to have my tech guy, Tyler, bring back our other 2 guests. And there's a nice comment in the Q&A section, and I wanted to share it with our panelists. It's from Dan, and it's in reaction to the SAG question that I had asked earlier. And his comment to you guys is, you are all part of the project. Without you, the experience would be much less. And I think that was a very gracious thing for Dan to say, and I thank him personally.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
So, you know, I can't thank you all enough for joining us, to my panelists today. And believe it or not, we're coming to the point where we need to wrap things up. But I'm glad that, you know, everybody got to share their stories and their experiences. And I thank all of the fans. I do want to, before I let the guys say goodbye, I always have my little small business speech that I give at the end of every InHouse-Con. COVID-19 has really dramatically affected small businesses, and Cool Waters Productions is a small business. We are a family-run company. We are the backbone of America. That is the term used here in America for small businesses like mine. And after losing approximately 7 months of conventions, we were, you know, in rough shape. And so we started InHouse-Con, and I want to thank all the viewers who purchased tickets and autographs from our panelists, because it helps small business like mine survive, not thrive, but survive. So I want to thank you all for that. And speaking of autographs, I want to remind all of our viewers, my tech guy Tyler in the chat room is going to throw up a link. The link goes back to our store. There are autographs still available for all 4 of our panelists today. We are going to leave those autographs available until tomorrow night. That's Sunday night. You can purchase them, and the guys will personalize it. You just got to tell us what you want done. There are a couple of options for just individual items, and then for most everybody, and what we've gotten so far is we've got cast options as well, where all 4 of our guests will sign it. There's also an option just for the 3 guys that you're watching right now to sign, just 3 of them, and you can leave TJ out since he had to leave early. Haha. No, I appreciate TJ, Richard, Alan, and Jason being here. And Tyler, do we have an answer to a poll? Did we do it already? I can't remember now. Oh, we do. There you go. Where did you see the Godzilla for the first time? And it looks like VHS Laserdisc is the winner. Look at that. Well, Garrett, there you go, guys. Thank you so much for participating in that. So with that, my little speeches are done. And I'm going to ask each of our gentlemen to say their goodbyes. And when their goodbyes are done, don't get up like we do at a movie theater and leave before all the credits roll. We've got 30 seconds of credits to roll, and I invite everyone to sit and watch. Alan, why don't you start us off with goodbyes?
Thank you, everybody. This was super fun. And it's like Derek said, it was such a bummer that, you know, the pandemic shut down all these conventions. If anyone's ever been to a con with us in person, you know that the 3 of us also love going to conventions as much as you guys do. So we're all bummed. And it's like Derek said, like this hit him and his family extremely hard because this is his business. So thank you for doing this. And, you know, as you always hear, we love having you guys as fans, because that's why you always hear is we truly mean it. And we have a blast chatting with you guys every time. And so I hope we get to do it again. You know, keep telling Derek that you want to see us, and maybe we can get some more conventions going.
Thank you, Alan. Take care. Richard, how about your goodbyes, sir?
I just want to thank everybody for doing this. And the fans are really, this is really special to me. I mean, the fans made Kevin, you know, I mean, Kevin the Left Head has gotten so much traction and so much love. And it really is an amazing feeling to be part of the Godzilla universe. I want to thank you, Derek, for taking care of us and getting us to the conventions and getting us out there to meet our fans. I mean, it really is everything. Without the fans, you know, we're just another movie. We're just another character. But I've learned so about the Godzilla universe through the fans. So I'm really appreciative about that. I've got new brothers, you know, with Jason and Alan. We are just as bad as brothers when this shuts down. You know, we text each other all the time, and you can find us on social media. You can see us interacting. We love what we do, and we thank you for just, you know, opening your arms and your heart to us and helping us get out there. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but thank you to all the fans, and thank you to you, Derek, for really just making this an incredible life experience for me.
Thank you, Richard. That means so much to me. We'll see you later, sir. And Jason, your goodbyes.
I just want to start by saying that I'm just so much more thankful than Alan and Richard and to everyone for being here. First of all, Derek, thank you for just welcoming me into your family, and a couple of years ago, just saying, hey man, I think that we should work together, and it's been such a joy, and I love getting to know you and everyone in your life, and thank you for putting this on, and Tech Guy Tyler for doing all this. We just had to show up and hang out. This is awesome. This was so much fun. This really felt like we were having a panel at a convention. This was awesome. And for everyone on here, fans, friends, it was awesome. We couldn't have done this if you didn't show up. If you didn't show up and come here, we would have just, been messing with each other by ourselves. And it's so cool to be able to have people who appreciate work that we've done, and for us to be able to give work to people that are looking for that type of work. And it's just a joy. It's a dream come true for all of us. I think I can speak for all of us that it is. And today was really special and a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to the stories and putting up with us, picking on each other and whatnot. But yeah, stay safe during all of this. Say hi. You can find us on social media, and I'm the worst at it, but if you can get a hold of me, then I will say hi back. Instagram's the best for me. But thank you all for being here. And Derek, thank you so much for everything you do and for putting all this on, man. Love you so much.
I love you too, Jason. Thank you so very much for joining us. I appreciate it. Well, fans, that brings us to the end of yet another InHouse-Con. I have to thank, as always, my tech guy, Tyler, as well as my webmaster, Sarah. Without them, I wouldn't be able to put these on. And I thank all of you, the fans, for joining in. So we hope to see you next week. And here come our end credits. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.